was not uh because realistically, I mean we'll go over them like just here. We went 4-2, and then I forgot to add this one. This was an extra little victory. It was on stream. You go back on the stream and see that 1-0 and tiebreaker. So let's just put FPX here and say 5-2, and like that. There we go. So yeah, we ended up going 5-2 today in our predictions. Uh, we'll talk about it, but Splice, man, completely blown my mind with how well they did today. It was shocking. Coming out as the second tier team, and they did so well, they got themselves a pass already. Like, there are. What the hell? Am I on? Would you look at that? I'm on this in 3 different sections. Let's just exile that, and then there. Here we go. Much better. All right. I was like, this seems weird that I have all these like tabs open here, or like little boxes highlighted. But yeah, we now officially have 2 teams that have passed without even being eliminated yet, and that is Splice and HKA. And I think that is incredible how well Splice performed today. We'll go over that briefly here, and then we'll talk about Group A and what that means, and then we'll probably have another podcast. So if as long as we get up at 9, and 9 is the most important game of Group A, depending on how it goes. If it goes well, then we will be. If it goes well for Cloud9, then we will have some entertaining games throughout the entire day, pretty much, because every game will be important from there on out until the end of the night. If Griffin wins against Cloud9, well, then unless up to the only chance C9 would have after that would be if G2 goes 0-3 and then loses to C9 in a tiebreaker, which would mean that G2 would have to immediately lose the next game against Hong Kong Attitude. So if that did happen, we would officially have G2. If G2 did beat Hong Kong Attitude, this group would be settled between G2 and Griffin by 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. whenever the game ended, and we would just be fighting for first place, which of course is the last game of the day. But the game's really between Griffin and Hong Kong, G2 and C9, Hong Kong and C9. I guess G2 and C9 and Griffin and Hong Kong technically would still matter, but for the most part, depending if they had already beaten those 2 teams, just assuming so, because I spoiler for my predictions, I guess. But they are subject to change. If like C9 goes and beats Griffin and G2 looks really bad against Hong Kong, I might say C9 for G2. You don't know me. I might get that NA patriotism and that fever going all the way, like feeling good about the team. But no, we'll see how it goes so far. But yeah, let's talk what happened today, because today was quite crazy. And League of Legends. No, Pick'ems. Pick'ems. I'm gonna have to sign in over here, and then my picks. Let me make sure that it's. Nope, these are my not my picks. These are my upset picks, which look terrible. I got 1 point on my upset account. Let's see what my main account has. My main account has 2, right? Okay, so this is for some reason on my main account I put what I had for the podcast, even though the podcast would technically be like not. There would be Stun Muffin, not King Link Fan like it formerly was. But with this we have a solid 7 points so far. We basically just got Splice and Gam correct. For basically what Splice did is what I was expecting Gam to do, and what Gam did is kind of what I was expecting Splice to do. If you think about it like that, in that sense. So I am in the there's 56% of people below me. So there's 60% of people below me total. So that's not great. I mean, I'm in the top 40% or so. That's not the best. But we're a Greater Merc Wolf at the moment. It's not bad. Not too bad. We're looking really fine on the rest of these though. Even if I had like game predictions, like we can go back to here, and hell, look at these game predictions from pre Griffin G251, Griffin 51, C9 2406. This one's looking fantastic. I think this was a rare one for Group C to assume SKT was going 6-0 in a group like this. I don't think many people had that. I think they were thinking it was going to be more of a Group D situation, which is what I have that, and I'm still looking pretty good there as well. So With that though, Group B, we had, let's pull up the match histories from today. Quite an interesting day, to say the least. Day 6, nope, day 5. Boop. Match history, match history, match history, match history, match history. No. Match history and match history. So game number 1 of day 5 was Gam versus Fun Plus Phoenix, and this one was about as big as, not as bad of a blowout as game number 1 between, I think I said this was game number 1, this was game number 1 of the day, game number 2 of Fun Plus Phoenix versus Gam. I might have said that correctly, but I'm unsure, so there it is now. But this one wasn't as bad as game 1 with Fun Plus Phoenix and Gam. That one was very, very ugly. This one started out okay for Gam anyways, but where they got the 3 kills there, they got 2. I mean, it was like they had, it was bloody up top. Under this tower, you could tell. Lots of kills here. They did end up getting 3 kills on it, and then they tried to go back to it at one point and it did not work. Levi ended up going 0-5, and Zeros was 0-4. You can tell that's not great when you're getting all these kills here in the top lane. They were all heading over to Zin and Kiaya, and yeah, it was pretty much. It was close, but at the same time it wasn't type scenario. Even though the gold lead was relatively within 2.3k or so, we were talking about this while we were watching today, and they have to strike early. They have Nocturne has to be early, Renekton has to be early, Kled has to be early. All of those get countered by the freaking Malphite mid by Doinby. Fantastic. I love it. I'm so glad tanks are back. We seen a Malphite today. We seen a Cho'Gath today. Like, woo! I'm so excited. I'm like the one person that's like, yeah, let's go. Let's keep these tanks coming in. These are my boys. But no, the Shen Heimerdinger bot lane didn't get steamrolling ahead, which is what they were hoping for. They were hoping to get the Renekton really far ahead of the Gangplank, which also didn't help. And eventually, Kled got a lot of kills in top lane, but really wasn't doing too much in lane to threaten Doinby whatsoever. So he just got super, super tanky, like almost like that's probably like 600 plus armor on Malphite. And when all of your team is AD damage except for really Heimerdinger for the most part, you're going to be A-okay. He just has to ult in on the Heimerdinger pretty much and kill him, and then he is invincible. But yeah, this game was pretty much in full control of FPX. If you notice, they have tons of scaling with Gangplank, Malphite's armor scaling, Kai'Sa's just regular scaling, and the playmaking from Gragas, where all of this falls off. So the fact that they were down even 2k at 13, 14 minutes meant that this game was going to be a lost cause from the beginning. And then Fun Plus Phoenix just kind of snowballed out of control in the last like 8 minutes of the game. So I thought Fun Plus Phoenix was back. Next game was Splice versus JT, and this was where I was like, wow, I was impressed with Humanoid really, really stepped up. And then this is our first look of pretty much Splice today. Splice today as a whole stepped up, but it was mostly Humanoid. Humanoid just absolutely popped off with a 7, 2, and 3 on the Cassiopeia, just completely made Fofo irrelevant on the Kale, and Lil V as well, just not doing good whatsoever as well on because of the Cassiopeia. The Cassiopeia pretty much nullified the Xayah because she couldn't ult, and nullified Kale in the early game, so Kale couldn't really farm up safely. She was always pushed under tower. Hana and Rest had a very struggle. This early first blood at 1:54, Rest came over here and then just like tried to get the Gnar early. It wasn't the worst play, but it definitely wasn't the best play flashing forward like that. That didn't help at all in that case, but yeah, we had. So then they pretty much everything snowballed out of control out of the top lane because Kled really couldn't stop Gnar, and I don't like Kled into Gnar because I feel like Kled immediately hits you with the bear trap. Gnar just hops out. Just how you can never seal a Gnar down with a bear trap, and he's just gonna poke you down. So it was a really bad counter pick in the first place, and then just everything else kind of just outscaled and snowballed around that. Obviously, like the plays in the top lane made it so Xerxes only had the focus on mid and bot, and by doing that he got Kabe and Humanoid quite fed. And this game was just unfortunate for J Team as they just really just didn't have. I like the team comp as a whole. I just don't like what they're like. Kled and Dinar I don't like. I don't really like Jarvan into Gragas too much. Kale takes too much time for me still personally, and especially with their nerfs a little bit towards the late game. I still like Xayah a lot, but I do like Kai'Sa better. So all around, it's not a terrible team comp. I just because you have like beef with Kled, Alistair, and Jarvan in the front line, and then you have Kale and Xayah hitting from the back, like fully protected. But it just didn't work out in this game, personally. So I just think I think the issue is the Cassiopeia and the Gnar got through, and not that they got through, but they just worked in this scenario a lot better to counter a team comp like that. Next, we had J Team versus Gam. This game was pretty much all J Team again, as we have been come to know. Mr. Ryan said Cassiopeia is an answer instead of a blind pick is actually okay. Go figure. I feel like Ryan is still a little salty from from 2-3 days ago, where Cloud9 just is blind picking Elise all over the place. How you doing, Ryan? You nervous? You nervous? We got about 9.5 hours to essentially decide if C9 is going to make it out of groups. Pretty much, like. Like, it's still a chance. You just need Hong Kong Attitude to beat G2 right after that. Then you got to beat G2 right after that. Then you need Griffin to beat G2 right after that. And then you need C9 to beat G2 in a tiebreaker after all of that. You think this G2 team's gonna lose 4 games in a row in one day? It's possible, but I mean, it's not. It's you can't say it's a 0% chance of happening, but it's as close to zero as you can possibly get. But yeah, that'd be the only way you guys get in if you lose to Griffin, which really at least the G2 like HKA game is first, so it doesn't give you that false hope of like, say if it was like Griffin G2 next and then like C9 G2 next and you both beat G2 and G2's like sweating and you need to see them just beat you just need to see them beat HK or lose to HKA and then you get the tiebreaker. You won't have to worry about that. You'll have to worry about them facing HKA right away. And then HKA looked pretty good for the first 25 minutes of the game against them last time. But yeah, Idol, by the way, Idol said 0% chance. I mean, I'm talking there is a 0.000000000 like 1% chance that this happens. So like a thousandth of probably like a 100,000th of a % that this can happen. So it's not like we're going anywhere. We're not putting any faith into it. It would be like C9 hitting the lottery essentially. It'd be the same odds pretty much. But yeah, Gam, J Team kind of destroyed him. JT Rest was popping off on the Ranked again. It's nice to see the Ranked really show up. Fofo had a great game against on his Azir as well. I was really impressed again. Lil V 5-0-1 just popped up, and Gam was officially eliminated in this game. And Gam is still at group stage my biggest failure of a team, which makes me. I'm gonna go back here real quick. I currently have three teams that have failed Worlds so far. Completely failed at Worlds. There are gonna be more coming up, but at the moment I have. The first one to fail was Low-Key. Low-Key failed to get first place in the group with the HKA and Mega, and you really should have got first place in that group. And then the punishment for not getting first place in that group was to go against Damwon. They did take a game against Damwon, which is what put them to a D instead of an F. But because of that, Low-Key failed at groups this year or at Worlds this year. Royal Youth was the second one in my first F grading because I thought they played terrible in the group stage, even though they had Damwon Flamingo. It was a tough group. So then they come out, and I'm like, okay, you're looking good. You got Clutch, and you get 3-0'd by Clutch like it's nothing. That's a fail. That's a complete fail. I thought the Royal Youth coming in was the best wildcard team, and they looked super cocky, super arrogant. It's almost like people told them they were the best wildcard team, and that they were going to pass and they automatically get it. So they're a fail. GAM also in F grading because GAM is coming in with the best Vietnam team we've ever seen by far. You have Zeros and Levi back on the same team. You have Kiaya in the mid lane. Your weakness is Slay and Zin in the bot lane, but they're not bad. Slay was the best support in Vietnam. So they all come in. You get a very simple group. You had Splice, who struggled to beat Unicorn of Love, and you had J Team from the LMS. As we know, the LMS is a fairly weak region this year. And then you do had Funbloods in there, which was tough, but that was a very winnable group for them. You can just play really, really aggressive against J Team and Splice. They both play very slow games. You can overpower them with your aggression. Unfortunately for them, they did not do that in most of their games. Honestly, their last game against Splice was literally the only time we saw them for the most part. Their win against J Team and their last game against Splice was the only times we saw them actually play to their strengths and their aggression. Outside of that, they played very weak, very like scared. They never drafted good engage. It was like dumbfounding how poor they did. So they also get an F, which means both Vietnam teams first year of getting 2 seeds both fail in my projections, but definitely have a very, very disappointing year. Ryan said, "Could you imagine the absolutely insane memes of G2 go full 2005 C9 with the complete week 2 collapse? Not a remote chance of it happening, but still, yeah. I mean, yeah, it is literally winning the lottery levels of like possibilities of happening. It is so slim. Like in knowing NA's luck, it'll go all the way down to 3 games. They'll go into a tiebreaker with C9, and then they'll just rip our heart out and beat us in a tiebreaker, and that would be very sad. But yeah. So we had GAM versus J Team. J Team, as we said, kind of won, threw it around the Baron. They really sealed the deal. As you can see, they moved it 2.3k gold lead to pretty much 4-minute shutout, and a 7k gold increase from there. Game number 3. Splice versus Fun plus Phoenix, and Splice comes out swinging with the Void, almost the Void. Hey, they got a Void buff with the rework now. They got the Void buff from TFT, and they made it work. And they got the Brawler buff actually now, and they have the Ninja buff. It makes total sense now. Now I get it. They have 3 buffs on this team, or 2. Yeah, they have 3 full buffs on this team. It makes or team comp things. It makes total sense. All FPX have is Void Assassin on 1. They have Blade Master Gunslinger Pirate. Nautilus ain't in the game. Lee Sin ain't in the game. And Galio ain't in the game. So they got nothing. It makes total sense when you look at it that way. This game was actually, I don't like the Galio mid pick at all, to be honest. I really think Galio mid is not great at the moment. I don't think Galio is a great pick anymore. It's shown up a little bit at Worlds. It's obviously not dominant, but I really don't like Galio. I don't think he's anywhere near my top 10 for picking people to play. Obviously, they banned Rise and stuff here, and Rumble and Renekton. Pretty much just completely focus banning out Doinby and Kale and LeBlanc. All 5 bans essentially went to Doinby, which is kind of weird to think about in that sense. But I don't think Galio should be number 6 on that list. You know what I mean? I'm not saying play Malphite, but I felt like you could have played someone with a little more damage on the team. Maybe, I don't even know, like Syndra or something like that. Just some AP damage that could help in the mid lane. Though Syndra and Takali, I don't like that too much. But he played the Galio. It went 0-5, and pretty much Splice dominated this game. At the beginning, it was a very early Ocean Drake and 2 Ocean Drakes, to be honest. It was 2 Ocean Drakes and a Rift Herald. And even though Splice got the kill up top, I was like, okay, this is pretty much going to be a Fun plus Phoenix. They have controlled the game at the time, but Splice had control of the gold. And then once we had this big team fight up in the top, or up in the, was this in the bot lane? Yeah, this was in the bot lane, where Splice got 4 kills for 1. That was where I was like, oh no, like Splice is actually going to win this game. They got 4 kills plus an Infernal off of just literally 1 kill on Kabe. So once that happened, Splice had a 4K gold lead, and they never let go. They kept on the pressure. They didn't have their mid game fumble. They didn't lose the Baron. They pretty much just got all of their They got their Infernals, all of their towers, everything. Every team fight was very clean. I didn't think LWX played that bad in this game, to be honest. I think it was just as a whole, TN and Doinby were so far behind that LWX really couldn't do much, which is good in a sense that LWX played better better than he was in week 1. But damn, this was terrible for FPX. FPX now was dropped down to 3-2, and with Splice's victory here, Splice had a legitimate shot not only to get first in the group, but to eliminate Fun Plus Phoenix. Fun Plus Phoenix was gonna have to end up playing a tiebreaker game for possibly to be eliminated if Splice had beat Gam. And the next game against Gam, they beat him barely. As Ryan was here for this one, I want to talk about this one a bit. Gam finally, we saw Gam play to their style. It's like when all the pressure was off and they were eliminated, they're like, oh yeah, we can play League of Legends like a crazy person. And it works. Okay, why didn't we do this any other game? Like, Splice did have all the scaling with the Rise, Jinx, and Gangplank, but Gam put on so much pressure. They made Vizichache's life a complete living hell. They were just all over the map. Like, look at that. 3 kills already at the beginning, with 2 kills going over to about 3-minute mark. 2 kills going over to Splice, but then yeah, another kill, Dragon, kill. These are all on Gangplank, by the way. If you know, Gangplank died. Gangplank dies again. Gangplank dies again. 1 for 1 there. Gangplank dies again. Gangplank dies again. Gangplank had 5 deaths before like 14 minutes. It was just a living hell in the laning phase. And pretty much Gam takes a mountain and 2 Infernals, just completely amping up all this power here, looking really good to clean this game out just so easily. And then they decide to do a Baron, which was the right call. The wrong call was, too bad I can't zoom in. They had if you look at where my cursor is, they had the pink ward right here, or the control ward, I should say, right there. And then Splice had a cheeky little ward right here, which was not covered by the control ward. So in Gam's mind, they were in the dark because they cleaned out all the vision in the river. They did all their homework here. They cleaned out the Baron pit with this control ward. Splice can't see nothing. But because the control ward was so far over to the left, they could indeed see something with this little ward on the right side. And because of that, when Gam had knocked the Baron roughly to about 2k HP, Splice was able to get there, get a hook on TN from North Scarin, and then just immediately, what else did they do? They had the Gangplank ult in there. They had the Kiana ult wrap around the Baron pit and just eliminate. TN had the stopwatch that, or not TN, sorry, Levi. Levi had the stopwatch that, and then like Xin had, which is sitting in the back of this pit right here. You can see both of their deaths are right there. If they had just 2 seconds. 2 seconds more. So if they would have cleared that ward out, Splice would not have known this Baron was going on for at least a few more seconds before like that gut check, and freaking Gam would have taken this Baron and had like pretty much the rest. At that point, they were about 4.7k gold lead. Splice was behind in every single lane. They have so much like initial burst with Jace and Kai'Sa. They have engage with Nautilus and Lee Sin. They can go in, they push, and they pretty much win this. They probably close this game out. Like, I am 95% confident. There is always a chance, but I'm about 95% confident with about, say, a 6-7k gold lead. This amount of just pure damage with 6-7k gold lead with 2 Infernals and Baron buff on this team, there is pretty much no shot unless there was a miracle pickoff that Splice wins this game. But like Ryan just said, Gam did their homework, but forgot to double check. Yep, they did everything correctly except the double checking, and they missed that big fat typo at the very beginning of their essay. That makes them look like a complete idiot. They just read right over that one, and that's exactly what happened. Once that happened, it immediately shot. Because not only is Splice getting the Baron, they're getting like 3 shutdown golds from this, plus a tower at the end, plus an extra kill. So they ended up getting 5 kills, a tower, the Baron, 2 more towers, an Ocean or a Windrake, another kill, or they gave up a kill there. That was actually worrisome. Humanoid did get caught out there, but it didn't matter because on that was the last kill that Splice was going to give up, because they did end up giving a tower off of that, and it actually swung the gold lead for a brief minute back, but immediately it was too much because, like we said before, Gam is all solo focus or like early game focus. Splice had Gangplank, Rise, and Jinx. They were just trying to scale, and because of that, like eventually eventually they got that moment in the Baron pit and they couldn't get snowballed on anymore because we're talking about 8K gold. This is like about a this would have gone to like 7K. I'm gonna say, and this is 2K. So that's about a 9.4K gold flip. Just that ward, that one ward that cost what? Nothing. I guess it was like let's just say for 50 gold. Let's put 50 gold to the cost because it was from here. But it costs 50 gold for a ward like that, and instead of that ward saved Splice about 9K gold. Like it is such a big flip, a monumentous like flip. And not only that, by winning this game, Splice sealed a spot in the group stage. If they would have lost like they were supposed to, like during this game, and like they were showing that they were gonna lose and they were looking not so hot. If they would have lost, they would have then had to face the loser of the next game in a tiebreaker, and the loser would go home. So that puts them in a lot more of a pressure situation. Now they put that pressure on Fun Plus Phoenix and J Team, and by going to that game, poor J Team. Oh man, this is where I have a good. Fun Plus Phoenix has officially fallen from the top for me. I still have them number 2 in my opinion, but I have SKT currently as my favorite now. They have passed Fun Plus Phoenix, which was a big gap to pass. So passing it in group stage alone is very shocking. I never thought I would drop them that far, but this game this game is one of the reasons why they're still number 2 and the next game coming up. But this one is like. This was a good gut check because what have we always known about Fun Plus Phoenix and Doinby in particular? They choke. They always choke in the big moments all the time. Like they have these amazing seasons. Like I think they said Doinby got second in the last 4 splits. Has gotten second, first. And this is the first time he's been to an international event with all those great records. And instead of them going on and like being eliminated here and like choking like they always do, they stepped up. They completely obliterated J Team by a 14-minute mark. Let's go by 15 minutes. We had a 7K gold lead. By 20 minutes, we had an 11K gold lead. By 23 minutes when they ended it, it was an 18K gold lead. It ended up skyrocketing. They ended it at the 24-minute mark. It was a 21K gold lead. We very, very rarely see 21K gold leads. That is absurd. But J Team just got annihilated on every single lane. They got completely out jungled. This was the Fun Plus Phoenix. This is that little spark like, oh, they're back. Like, they're real. This is the team that we saw at China. Destroy RNG. Destroy all of the LPL. Like, they destroyed RNG in a best of 5. They made RNG look like garbage. Like, that made them look so bad that people thought RNG was going to get eliminated in Group C, which is probably not going to happen. Win lane, win game, the game. Yeah, exactly. This was the game where it wasn't just win. It was obliterate lane, win game. Like, the bot lane, I loved Frosker. Like, Froskurans always makes some of my favorite comments. He's one of my favorite analysts, as you probably know if you've been watching long enough. And her and Raz, I think, are like my go-to favorites. And Froskuran made a comment that the LPL teams played a lot of Tahm Kench this year, but LPL teams for Tahm Kench, they don't play Tahm Kench for the safety of it. They play Tahm Kench to dive the tower. Like, he has an ult button that lets you dive under tower for free. Let's go. That is the LPL to a T. Tahm Kench went 1-0-17 in 20 kills, so was part of 90% of kill participation for that Tahm Kench. He was always there. Crisp was just on fire with this pick, even though Tahm Kench is pretty hot garbage at the moment. And J-Team had the counter pick with Pike that goes right through the gray health, like with his ult, but it did not matter at all. LWX, I love to see him on snipers like Caitlyn and Varus because he can stay in the backline and he doesn't get over aggressive like we've seen on his Kai'Sa. I do love his Kai'Sa, but it's been very bad on at World so far, and I'd be curious to see his Lucian as well because that's also very aggressive like Kai'Sa, and they usually win with that just as much. But I personally have always thought his biggest pop offs were with Caitlyn and Varus. But yeah, Dwayne B on his signature rise, just crushing it. Gimgoon being a monster on that Renekton. I actually want to see who did the most damage. Yeah, it was Gimgoon with the 13.2k damage. Like he was just killing people with that so much. But it was a complete wipe. And unfortunately with that, J Team has been eliminated. It's the weirdest thing because LMS is most likely going to do worse this year than last year because Flash Wolves last year went 3-3 with the tiebreaker, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. I can just check 2018. Let's do Worlds 2018. But they choked hard, and then both of the teams went 0-6. The other two teams, it's very real possibility that HKA and AHQ both go 0-6, and J Team actually go 2-4. So record-wise, LMS actually got a little bit worse. Let's see. Flash Wolves finished 3-3. Yep, and they lost the tiebreaker versus G2. Yeah, so there's a legitimate shot that LMS finishes worse this year than last year, but they feel like they played better, in my opinion. It doesn't always matter necessarily. At the end of the day, all that matters is wins and losses. But from a feel like if you played competitively, it feels a lot more competitive. Like the Mad and G-Rex games from last year were completely not even close. Not like a single one of them was even remotely close. The fact that AHQ fought to the death against Team Liquid, fought really hard against Invictus Gaming. Hong Kong Attitude was ahead of G2 by 25 minutes. They were fighting to the death against Cloud9. Like they're really, really fighting this year. I think a lot more. Also, Ryan said rested. Well, technically, Ryan, a control ward is 75 gold. That's why I was struggling so much. I was trying to make it because there wasn't a control ward in the pit because they would have seen it. It was just even though the casters kept saying this control ward is helping out, it wasn't the control ward. It was just a regular like support ward in there because control ward would be visible to Gam. They would have noticed that right away, but it was just the regular ward. So I just tried to do like the early wards, and I didn't remember their exact amount. And so yeah, control ward 50 gold, Nexus 50 gold. Basically though, yeah, like that coincidence. Basically though, that ward was worth as much as the Nexus, like literally. But yeah, what do you else do? Rested almost solo kill Gimgum as Ornn in lane, which is impressive, but that was literally it. Yeah, that was literally, you could literally put positives for J Team. Ornn rest almost soloed Gimgum. The rest of the game, blank. But finally, let's talk about the last match of the day. This was for first place between FunPlus Phoenix and Splice, and FunPlus Phoenix kind of destroyed Splice. Not as bad as they destroyed J Team, but for the most part, there was a bunch of kills back and forth in the early game. But then once we hit like, I'm gonna say like this 3k gold lead, it felt like it was all in FunPlus Phoenix's control. They had like this. They had the Infernals, they had the Baron, they had the Inhibs, and I mean, Splice was always on their back foot. The only time they weren't was when TN got caught out right here, or right around here. TN did get caught out, and then they actually caught out Gimgoon on the rise, which was weird, but I mean, it made sense because Doinby does play a lot of Renekton mid. Doinby made Renekton mid, basically, so Doinby just has a champion. He has more than an ocean. I don't know what's more than an ocean, water-wise, but, like, he has that. Like, Doinby's champion pool is absurd. I think Brian put it best during the podcast today. It legit made me, I guess it wasn't a podcast, but it was the stream today, I should say. It legitimately made me crack up. Brian told me that Doinby is a top laner who got lost and is stuck in the mid lane. Because all what Ryan has seen Doinby do is play Scion, Malphite, Galio, Ryze, and Renekton, and Kale. Like, that's it. Like, those are all top lane champions, except maybe Galio, you could say, isn't really. But he could do it. You could absolutely play Galio top lane. So I thought that was the funniest comment. Like, that's all Doinby does. He's just a lost top laner. That's all he is. It was amazing. Yeah, right. Doinby is a top laner, auto-filled mid. Yep. It's just a god. If Reservoir and Grass instead of Razorjack, he would have killed him. Feels bad. Yeah, he would have. But man, that was But yeah, this game, outside of those two little hiccups, this game the game got a little intense from there. But from that point on, and they were playing a game of chicken in the mid lane. Ultimately, Splice started heading the Baron, and then FunPlus Phoenix pulled them off the Baron, but disengaged properly. Splice got back on the Baron. They got back onto FunPlus Phoenix. FunPlus Phoenix disengaged, and then Splice had a few half health bars, so they had the back right here. All of a sudden, with Baron and Elder up, FunPlus Phoenix controls all of this. They end up taking the Elder Drake, and then immediately going onto the Baron, forcing Splice to come fight them, and then immediately when they did fight them, Doinby was just sitting in the bush with, I believe, Crisp. It was Doinby and Crisp just sitting in the bush, and they immediately killed Norscaran, immediately killed Humanoid. Humanoid had a phenomenal day until this game, so that scared me a little bit by Splice having two kind of bad games if you think about the Gam game and immediately into this, but that doesn't matter. They made it out of the group, which I did not expect, and I am very, very proud of them for that. Like, I was absolutely on board J-Team coming around, and I was on board originally with Gam, and then when J-Team beat FunPlus Phoenix, I'm like, oh my god, J-Team is absolutely getting out of this group. They are just the better version of Splice, and they have a win against Gam, and then Splice stepped up today and beat FunPlus Phoenix, or I meant FunPlus Phoenix there, not Gam, and then Splice stepped up today and beat FunPlus Phoenix themselves. Unfortunately, they couldn't win here, and I loved Ryan's conspiracy theory during this. He told me that all the Chinese teams are making a hit list against G2, and that he said that FunPlus Phoenix was intentionally throwing games so that they would get second place, and then RNG will get second because SKT, or RNG doesn't even have to throw games, and then IG gets second in their group, and I'm assuming Ryan would think Team Liquid would get first then, and then all the Chinese teams would be in second place in G2, since the only other 2 seed is in their group, that they would be forced to play a Chinese team, and they'd be able to take back their revenge on G2 upsetting RNG last Worlds in their Golden Road. They were actually want to upset G2's Golden Road. Oh, man. Ryan said Doinby's he's played Kled and Sion mid too. Yep, and Nautilus. Yep. Nautilus is his main pick in the mid lane. It's 100% true. He's a top laner who got lost mid. It is the best explanation of Doinby. The top laner got lost in the mid lane. I love it so much. But yeah, those were the games for today. So let's talk about our predictions. Again, we did stream it, but we didn't end up changing anything. So we went 5-2. So on World, so on group, oops, not that. Don't want Steam. On the main stage event, the main stage of groups, we started out a little shaky with the 3-3. There was a lot of upsets to bear, but we had 4, 6, 5, 23 wins, and we have 3, 4, 6, 8, 23 divided by 31. We're at a 74% pick rate so far in group, so I'm pretty happy with that. I want my goal coming in, I guess I didn't say it on the podcast, was to try and hit 75% pick rate, and that's really kind of hard. Like, you have to get 3 out of every 4 games right through all of Worlds. That's essentially meaning you have to get like you have to go 12-4 in the first, in 18 games. No, I don't know. In 24 games. Yeah, in 24 games you can only lose. You have to go 20-4. Like, you can only lose 4 games and you have to win 20. So we're getting real close to that, and we got to keep it up a bit, but now that Group B is done, I think we could do better. Like, literally, if you think about it, Group B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of my 8 losses, over half of my losses are in Group B. I've only lost 3 games outside of Group B in my predictions, and one of those I still blame you guys for that Team Liquid one. That could have been another 6-0 there. But yeah. Splice literally going full C9 from last year. Goes to 5 games of CIS and plans. Goes 1-2 to start groups. Chalked up by a lot of people to even get last in the group. But surge in the second round robin, being the Chinese #1 team, but then losing to them in tiebreaker first. Wow, that is very similar. Splice to semis? No, I don't believe, because there is no Afrika Freaks in the tournament left. That's not true. I think Griffin is kind of similar to Afrika Freaks last year, where they're not the strongest Korean team. Like, I think that would be, so the only way I see that happening is if Griffin gets a first seed out of Group A. Coincidence? Because exactly what that was, wasn't it? That was first seed Afrika Freaks coming out of Group A last year. That's all. Oh my my god, that is it, now I want that to happen. I want Griffin to beat G2 and then beat them in a tiebreaker just for that to happen. Just because you don't believe in them, just like C9. Hey, I believed in C9 to beat a Freak of Freaks though. I predicted that last year. Actually, I was fully on board with that hype train. I didn't predict C9 to get out of groups though. I will admit that one. I thought Gen G was for real, and man, was I baited. Oh man, I got the RNG part right though. But at the end of the day, I did get Fumbles Phoenix right in first. What we like to say in NA is we take those, like from Team Liquid over HQ. It was not the cleanest. It was very very ugly, especially for Fumbles Phoenix's standards. But they did survive the group, and I think I'm kind of hoping the group was a wake up call for them in a bit, like that they and kind of help them settle those nerves. We'll see how they do in a best of 5 now. I'm not fully confident anymore, obviously. Like how could you be with a loss to Gam or to J Team and Splice? But I think that if they play like they did in those last 2 games, where they literally dismantled J Team into nothing, and they pretty much did the same thing to Splice after losing to both of those teams in the previous 2 games against them, then we should be okay with FunPlus Phoenix still being a tournament favorite. But with that, let's get on to predictions. The most important one is right at the beginning. Let's go. Let's go all the way to day 6. G2 or wow, I'm so dumb. Griffin versus C9. Day 6, game 1. What? At 9 a.m. Most important game of this entire group of the entire day. Griffin wins. C9, like we said before, the only way that they can stay is that G2 beats or loses to everyone on the day. They have to go literally 0-4. 0-3 plus the tiebreaker loss to C9, and C9 has to beat G2 in one of those and beat HKA. So that would be the only scenario where C9 could still make it out of groups if they lose to Griffin in this first game. C9 beats Griffin, and all of a sudden C9 and Griffin are tied at 2-2 apiece, and they both still have a game against G2, and they both have a game against HKA. And I don't think either of them will probably beat G2, but if that's the case, as long as they both beat HKA, they would end up going to a tiebreaker against one another and facing each other for one final time at the end of the day. And what we've seen so far from Cloud9 is not great. They've played 3 mages in the bot lane. All 3 of them have looked quite terrible, to be honest. They have played Blabber against G2 and Griffin. They had their MVP of the NA LCS in Since Garen out of on the bench. They've had Sneaky on Sona, Cassiopeia, and Heimerdinger in reverse order, and just like it has looked very ugly for C9, like very 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 ugly. So will C9 have another miracle in them to perform and beat Griffin? I have previously said no, and unfortunately they have failed my expectations so far. I want to believe in Reaper like a lot because he always and it could be day 2. It could be day 2. I'm worried because C9 is my second favorite team at Worlds, but I'm worried with how poor Sneaky played in the summer split, and he hasn't gotten that Worlds buff yet, and I don't know if it's because he's on mages or because he just has not looked good all year. You know what I mean? Either way, if they put him on if Reaper puts Sneaky on a mage against Griffin, it's done. Like it's you're over. Like pretty much, you know? You know what I mean? And even if it's on an ADC, it's like it's going to be tough. It is going to be tough. Griffin is not a big pushover. Like they're pretty decent. I think they're like around Damwon IG level in Team Liquid. Like I really think they are, and I think that C9 could win that. C9 obviously showed they with the 5 games with Liquid. They are just they are barely under that level. Like Ryan said, I want to believe too, but I've seen nothing to suggest that they could bounce back enough or that Griffin would suddenly dip enough to get that win. I'm in the same boat as you. Like all day, I'm literally like just sitting here thinking like, how can C9 win? Like I want to pick C9. Like I really, really want to. From an like an analyst point, I have to pick Griffin, unfortunately. But like all day, I'm like, where's this miracle come from? C9 always pulled the miracle out, but I'm like watching these games, and I'm like, it's not only that I predicted them to be 1-2, they look worse in the 1-2 than I expected them to. Like I expected them to get blown out to G2, that's fine. I expected them to dominate HKA, they didn't, and I expected them to keep it very close with Griffin. They kind of did, but they did it in a weird way. Like you know what I mean by that. Like Ryan definitely knows. He did like a 10-page essay on it, but like it wasn't. It was lost in draft kind of, but then they like were winning in the game, but then the draft really exposed itself in how bad it was towards like the 25-minute mark, and it was like, oh yeah, they never actually had a chance. They had a chance to be cute and like do things for about 25 minutes, but then the draft and the comp itself really got exposed after that, and they kind of just got obliterated from there on. If that makes sense. So in a sense, the game was close, but if you watch it, you're like, oh, this game was not that close, actually. like it is just ugly at this point. And that I hope that makes sense. I don't know if it does, but yeah, that's why. Unfortunately, I gotta go Griffin here to keep my accuracy up. But I'll tell you, if you're watching the podcast or the game tomorrow, and hopefully I'm up at 9 a.m. We are going to be hardcore rooting for C9 down here. Me, Brian, and probably Brock. Gonna be some big, and Ryan's on too. We're gonna be some big C9 supporters in this chat. If the comp ever got engaged on the window condition was immediately shut. Exact. Thank you, Ryan. Ryan, with much better words than I did, said if the comp ever got engaged the window on the win condition was immediately shut. Thank you. That's exactly what I was trying to explain, just with my poor, stupid words. Like it's like the second the comp got exposed for what it is, it was like it's over. Like the Griffin's like, oh, this comp is nothing. The margin for error with that comp was very narrow. Yep, you had to essentially play perfect, which they were doing for a little bit, but then immediately once one mistake fell out, and you're like, well, GG, game over. G2 versus HKA, I will guarantee that I will not change that pick, even if you come watch even if you come watch tomorrow. I didn't change any picks today. There's no way in hell I'm changing the G2 pick against HKA at the beginning. You're welcome. If HKA beats G2 and Griffin loses to C9, I might pick Griffin or HKA over Griffin, but at the moment I'm gonna stick with Griffin there. C9 over G2, I don't think there's a shot in hell, even though that they had Svenskeren sit out to study Yankos' patterning or like jungle pathing and stuff. I don't think it's enough. I just think you are simply so far outmatched on the bot lane. It is absurd. Like even if you put Sneaky on an ADC, I don't think they stand a chance against Perks and Mickey. I really don't. C9 versus HKA. I am gonna keep C9 for right now, but it depends on how important the game is. Like I could absolutely see C9 trolling in a game that does not matter, and then if HKA is winning some game, maybe they beat Griffin or something like that. Then I think another big issue with the first game, C9 is on red side. Yeah, C9, as you said, is pretty bad on red side. So not only did they, oh man, Ryan, you're gonna get your own blood pumping. Not only did they lose on blue side, they sat out Svenskeren intentionally on blue side, which has always been their better side, and then picked a draft like that on the blue side. How do you feel about that? Is your blood boiling yet? Because mine is. Oh man, I hate these decisions. What did we say? What did we say on day 2 or day 1 or day 2 of this podcast? Reaper, do not go crazy with this stuff. You need to play your game that got you to the finals of LCS, and Griffin is very beatable for you guys. They are tough, but they are a beatable team. G2 is probably not beatable. You just have to focus on Griffin. Just focus on how you play exactly your style, and win through your aggression through the mid lane and the jungle. And like they open up the map, and you keep your top laner. Your Licorice survives. Sneaky and Zazel do okay in the bot lane, but then by opening up the mid and the jungle through that constant amount of ganks, you open up them to help out the bot lane as well. First pick Elise, that's enough to rally. Yeah. C9 has not listened to any of that advice. whatsoever. They've taken it all out the window. Like, we're not doing that. We're doing the exact opposite of what you just said, and we're gonna make it work. Well, it did not work, and now they are in a very, very tough position. And then finally, for the last game of the day, I am going to originally say G2. This is the game that probably has the most chance for a change, though, depending on how, if Griffin's looking like Splice does in Group B today, or like G2 starting the fumble like Fumplus, I might be able to switch this one to Griffin, and because I originally did have Griffin splitting with G2, I really thought they would. I thought they would take at least one game off of them, but I got really scared about that once I watched the first game when G2 just dismantled Griffin. So I've changed my opinion. I do think G2 is going to go 6-0 in this group, but my original gut feeling was a 5-1, 5-1 with G2 winning the tiebreaker at the end of that. So we'll see if the gut feeling was right or the new feeling was right after a 3-day review. Uh, Ryan said, "Good presence early, absolutely no playmaking beyond that." Yep, yep. And it's Blabber has a much worse shot calling in the mid to late game, which is at the moment the most vital part of the game, as we've noticed that games have gone a lot longer than they have usually been. It's genuinely possible, depending on how C9 look, that C9 lose to HK as well. Red side that game as well. I mean, yeah, but I mean, if C9's looking bad, that means C9 lost to Griffin. If C9 lost to Griffin, then it is totally possible for them to lose to HKA doing a like meme, funny, like jokey final game against with subs in for against HKA. We'll have to see when we get there for that, but I'm hoping, not only as an NA fan, but just as a league fan, I'm really hoping C9 wins the first game, because that if C9 loses, G2 versus HK is essentially pointless. It's not, but it is. it's but if G2 loses to HKA and then loses C9 and loses to Griffin, we've talked about this before. But like then that's why it's not pointless. But then once that game is resolved and G2 wins, then HKA versus Griffin is essentially pointless. C9 versus G2 is pointless. HKA versus C9 is pointless, and G2 versus Griffin is the only game that will matter for who gets first. Or if we have to play a tiebreaker, if we have to do a back-to-back tiebreaker type of style. And that's the only thing. So we're going to have essentially 4 not really important games in the middle of tomorrow, which kind of sucks. You never want that. You know, you want all 6. Like today, let's look at today. We had Fun Plus Phoenix get in first place. Splice beating J-Team put a tie in second place. J-Team putting Gam kept the tie. Splice putting Fun Plus Phoenix upset the whole thing through the whole thing, and then like every single game mattered today, every single one, including tiebreaker. Every single game had a big purpose today, and I'm kind of hoping that happens in day 6. I want it to happen in day 7, even though I have SKT wrapping it up by the third game, and I have day 8 is actually SKT might wrap it up by the first game, technically, unless Fnatic went 3-0. Like that would be the only way. After the first game, the only way for SKT to not wrap it up is if Fnatic goes 3-0 after for the day, which I don't see happening. And then day 4, I really see. So it goes HQ, IG. They play Team Liquid faces Damwon right off the bat, okay, and then they face AHQ. If this is 2 wins, Team Liquid's in, like 100% chance. And I know it's not technically 100% chance, but no, it would be, right? Because Damwon, they would have the tiebreaker over Damwon, and as long as Damwon didn't beat IG, it might be. It's still that group is really really messy. That's a very very interesting group. That is the group for sure that I'm gonna be changing picks left and right. I think, depending on how it goes. Yep. I'm hoping we don't get to that point, but Orion says I'm hoping we don't get to that point. But that's how the first round robin has affected my perspective of this team in and out of game. Yeah. Every game counts. Hashtag every game counts. Absolutely. The fact that I didn't even think about that they threw the games on blue side to Griffin without Svenskeren is mind-boggling. You think that, okay, we're really good on blue side. This is our one shot to beat Griffin. Like, we got to do it here. And then they dropped the ball completely. We'll see, though. Hopefully we make every game count tomorrow. But my predictions are right, it won't be, but if my heart is correct, we will be. But I think we're going to wrap up the podcast today on that. I don't think we have too much more to talk about. I guess you can talk just briefly. I'm not going to get too much in detail. I don't know enough about it. But Griffin general manager or something, or the owner is kicked off the team as well. So now Griffin doesn't have the head coach or their owner because the owner was doing super shady stuff with the JDG team, Kadavi, I believe it is his name, or Kanavi. Was loaned over to JDG. All those details you can find them on Reddit. But yeah, very shitty stuff. I'm kind of glad he got ousted. He seemed like a very bad person, so it's always nice to see those type of people get punished. Anyway, that will be the podcast tonight. Thank you guys for watching. We will see you tomorrow morning to root for C9. We could show our CV Max called it out. Yeah, CV Max did call it out. But yeah, we will be on tomorrow morning where you get to see. Like, I try my best. I know obviously I have some biases and stuff on the podcast, but I try to keep those biases to a minimum as much as I can. But when it's on that free stream, we're biased as can be. We're rooting for teams. like we don't have to be professional, or at least attempt to be professional during that. Like, we're just going for that. So yeah, we'll have Ryan. I'm sure Ryan will be up bright and early for that one. My brother might be up, but he'll be going right to bed after because he works until 7. He gets home at like 7:30 in the morning, but he's at work right now. And but yeah, you'll see some hard. There wasn't as much hardcore rooting today because like it's just J team and Fun Plus Phoenix for me. But when it's an NA team, like it's up there. It's up there. I'm rooting hard for that. Except really Clutch at this point because Clutch has disappointed me so much, and I don't have any faith that they can even get remotely close out of that group. But C9, I had faith that they could get out. Even though I didn't put them out, I had faith that they could. So we'll be rooting hard for them. Yeah, I try to be unbiased as well. Yeah, Ryan's the same way. It's the whole point of doing the thing. It's like I think it's been good for me at Worlds this year. Because I like pretty much on every single one of these teams. Like I saw these teams grow up, basically win. Most of them win championships. Obviously, if you count the other teams that made to the next round or to the wild card, they pretty much all these teams dominated the region. It's always nice to watch good gameplay for regions that I don't have an opinion on. So you tend to kind of like a lot of those teams. I don't really hate any teams here too much. I mean, I'd say I hate like G2 and Fnatic. I don't hate them as teams. I just have the banter with the EU fans because we're NA, just a rivalry thing. But I don't actually hate those teams personally. I like them all. I just like watching the good League of Legends. I watch 13 regions. Like that's a lot of regions. But yeah. Anyway, let's wrap this up. If there's anyone who's gonna brag on his own team, it's gonna be me, right? Yep. Anyway, we're wrapping up now. Thank you for coming to watch Idol and Ryan. I appreciate it as always. If Ryan, you'll be there. Idol, if you want to drop by, we'll probably have a 6-hour stream again tomorrow morning. So you can look forward to that. And then after that, we will do another podcast to predict Group C. That one, it will be possibly spicy, or SKT can just stomp it all out and make it not spicy at all. Anyway, with that, that's all. Good night, guys. Thanks for coming again.